needs do you see that can be done at the middle school level? Sometimes by the time you talk high school, it's already too late.
You know what, I don't know where else, we can't be everywhere anymore. Do you know what I mean?
But
We're relying and working on, as a matter of fact, we put our first coordinator in a middle school in Easton to try to beta test that to see how it works. But what we're finding, what we're beginning to find, is that the educational system and the teachers are getting more in tune. We were in a high school or a middle school every single day, trying to get them up to speed. We have to train the trainers because we're only a few people, we can't be everywhere. Do you know what I'm saying? So we have 4 pieces of legislation already to get teachers and to get career counselors in school. So the legislature is working on understanding that we need more of that in the schools, you know that. But I'm just saying from our workforce system point of view, we can't be everywhere. Our job is to help people find jobs and direct them toward the careers that we project to have in the next, 5 years. So I agree with you, and then pick a middle school, do you know what I mean? We try to at least work in the high schools because those children that are coming out, if they have no direction, we can grab them and maybe get them back into something. So at least it's saving some. I don't mean saving it in the negative sense, I mean saving them from a long wait before they find work or a long wait before they decide what to be. They don't know what to be.
And particularly, I would imagine these career counselors can help them get through the union issues, the training for union, which we discussed many times in front of this board.
Well, we'll talk to them about apprenticeship programs, we'll talk to them about careers and jobs and pathways. And we just got a grant from the Department of Labor on credentials. So we're trying to get little bites of credentials for individuals, so it's an incentive to move on to the next step in either their career or a job, so.
Nancy, out of the 5,000 folks that went through the door, how many jobs did we get?
Of the people that came in, I think it was 1,700.
Not that many jobs.
Like 61% of all the people we serve got jobs in downtown Allentown, and they were Allentown residents. We're still on that path, believe me.
That's important.
It is important, it is important. So that's why we're not leaving the scene of the, we're not leaving it there, do you know what I mean? We need to still have a presence some way, because it works. We're in their face, and that's the issue. We're in their face and we're helping them, even if they have to come back every day for a month or 2 to find work. It's better than not having anywhere to go, even though we're across the bridge, do you know what I mean? We're trying to get more of them over.
Do you do any kind of long-term to see how long their persistence as far as who got jobs and who's still in those
Anyone
jobs?
that we place into employment, we have to follow them for 1 year. And the state judges us on their wage records. Are they still working at that place of employment? Are they working in a similar place of employment? And are they at a certain wage level? It's tough. So yes, we're very performance driven by design.
Now, Sarah reminds me that we don't have to approve the method by which Nancy is going to spend this money necessarily, but we are approving a $100,000 allocation in the budget. And this is what we discussed as a methodology of her utilizing this $100,000. And I felt that it should be presented to the board accordingly.
Well, if that's what we do, then we should monitor that that's how it's being, that's going to happen. But, I think technically that's what we're doing, we're just approving this allocation. But I think we want to have periodic reports.
Absolutely.
How's it
I'll
going?
be very happy to come and tell you. I always tell everyone I'm doing.
Right.
We're as transparent as, ish.
Sounds like good news.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
And maybe we need to make adjustments during the next
Right.
year, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's why, and you'll have that latitude.
Right.
But periodically, and maybe on a, quarterly or semi-annual basis, we'll ask you to come and report.
I'll be glad to do that.
Well, we appreciate you coming and talking to the board.
Yeah, if I could just add, that Paulette Hunter could not be here tonight, but she did call my office. She wanted to make sure that we were continuing to set aside funds for the employment services, not specifically for the way we've been employing them, using those funds. So I'm sure she'll have some more input before we get to the contract.
And if
on how the funds are
and if I recall, Paulette Hunter was the one woman who was really pushing for services in the schools.
She was. I think she's also very interested in connecting the kids specifically to jobs versus careers, but I think all of it will be positive.
Right.
It'll all be
He's
positive.
getting on a career pathway.
All right, so, thank you very much, Nancy.
Does this mean I can leave?
Yes, you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure you got better uses of your time.
No.
To
If you
continue.
stay longer, we'll just give you more things.
Yeah.
The next order of business is the approval of the 2016 budget, and what we're talking about is the operating budget, and I think that's in your packet. And we have Sarah Hailstone will present it.
So I was trying to present, but apparently they haven't updated the computer yet. What I was hoping to present was a comparison of last year to this year, just to make your lives a little bit easier. To see, so I apologize. Yeah, we got a little bit here. But they're good enough? Yep. Good enough for everybody? Okay, so I just wanted to show you that 2015, the income was the arena rent for $900,000. In 2016, it will continue to be arena rent for $900,000. In 2015, developer fees were estimated at $262,200 for 2015. 2016, we are estimating $701,000 based on the projects that we have coming. You know about the Big City Center one, the 20 basis points on closing, plus the continual annual basis points of 10% on the 10 on the projects that currently exist. So you have a little more income this year, but I'm not necessarily recommending that you spend that additional income this year. You'll see that we're recommending, and actually, Bob, I apologize. Did you want to say anything, Bob, because the finance committee met? Okay. So we have for the reimbursement to the city, it was $350,000 in 2015. We're recommending $350,000 in 2016. Our legal fees at $150,000. Once again, they support. It's not just Jerry Spain, support us with all of the NISD legislation and issues that come along related to ANIZDA. The compliance officer will go from $135,000 to $125,000. The majority of the items will stay the same. The annual audit will drop from $30,000 to $24,500 because we know that dollar amount.
Sarah, I'm a compliance officer. When does that issue come up for approval?
It did when we did the 3-year contract.
Oh, 3 years, okay.
Remember?
Thanks.
That's why we were able to.
We'll be going into year 2.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going into year 2. Okay. We put $25,000 into planning for year 2016, and the large change you'll see is miscellaneous from $13,900 to $66,240. That includes some accounting fees. I know that was about $35,000, and some other miscellaneous fees that we have coming through in NISDA. Committed funds not expended in prior years of $50,000. You'll see that on your budget. That's the marketing plan. So it's moving forward. We've committed those dollars, and we're going to be expending them in the operating budget of 2016 for a total estimated $1.2 million.
I think one way of looking at the budget is it's pretty much the same as this year's, with the exception that we have a lot more developers fees.
custodial payment goes down in the future, so we don't
What,
want to be
what
spending all
year
the
does
money.
that happen?
20. It's 5 years of the 900. And it started in September, not in January.
And it goes down to what?
450
So
for
it
5
goes-
years, and then it drops to 100
Yeah.
for the remaining.
So, you know, the workload is not going to significantly change, it'll differ. And then you won't have as much developer fees in the future. So it behooves us to accumulate cash in order to keep
Operating now.
keep enough money for people to operate in the future. Otherwise, we're, 10 years from now, people are gonna have a lot of problems.
Right.
Yeah, the income.
Or less.
Just to confirm what I think I'm appreciating, the last two lines, that net operating income, that's assuming everything goes according to the budget. At the end of 16, we will have a surplus of that amount from operating in 16. We're coming into the year with a balance sheet, line of 416. So ideally, theoretically, at the end of 16, we'll have 800,000 and change in the bank, so to speak.
Correct.
Which means, we need to aggregate. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm just trying to get a sense of.
No, yeah,
what
which we
together.
need to aggregate, and the problem is that there are, personally, the areas that I find that are most troublesome in this, in terms of areas that are hardest to predict, are the legal fees. Because, things like the challenges that we're receiving now to the issue of whether we're, exempt from, immune from taxation, just those kind of things. Unfortunately, we don't seem to be headed toward anything but litigation on that. And, so our legal fees really don't have anything substantial in this, to cover that. So,
And this year, I mean, you've got really large developer fees coming in and a large rent payment. So that's very, I think, unique how much money you've got coming in this year.
That's part of the concerns that I have, is that most of the things here are predictable. The areas that are unpredictable are really the areas of litigation. And it seems like, we've become target for that, even when we're not. Shouldn't be.
Even when it doesn't make any sense.
Right. Even when it doesn't make any sense. So we spend money. Are there any further questions or comments on the budget? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget.
So moved.
That's resolution R 2015-81.
Resolution 2015-81, which is in your packet. So moved by Mr. Duncan and seconded by Mr. Kuchek. And are there any comments from the public with respect to this? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? The budget for 2016 is approved as submitted. Next is the approval of the funding to Allentown Parking Authority for capital improvements, Resolution 2015-82. The history of this is that when we increased the revolving line of credit for city center from 125 million to 185 million. I was able to negotiate with City Center to, in addition to their normal fee, to provide for $1,600,000 that would go toward a capital project as an additional fee, so long as it would be a capital project. And Sarah and I, subject to board approval, had designated at the time, with JB's approval, that it would go into, at that time, there was a need to improve the spiral deck of the Hamilton, the Hess's deck. So that was communicated to the parking authority and was programmed into their borrowing for that improvement to the spiral deck, which occurred back about 2 years ago, Sarah?
A little over a year ago.
A little over a year ago. And that $1.6 million was to be paid in 3 installments. We've received one of the installments, the first installment, and after receiving it, we realized that we need to have ANIZDA approve this so that we can spend the money and give it to the parking authority. So that's what this resolution is all about. We're getting $1.6 million from City Center, and we're passing it on to the parking authority to help them with their obligations, and we need to approve it. So that's what this resolution is all about.
It's basically already spent.
Yeah, it's been spent, but we're, and we're getting it funded. It was part of the original resolution that was allowed for in the increase from 125 to 185. Have I properly explained that, Solicitor?
To a great degree, yes.
Okay.
Let me just comment that it was approved in the resolution, so this is something that we approved some time ago, and then of course now the funding has started flowing, and we need to deal with it accordingly. The $1.6 million is altered a bit because 100,000 of it was utilized for streetscape improvements at 7th and Hamilton Streets. City Center Investment did a great deal of those improvements, and basically far exceeded $400,000 worth, and so $100,000 was allowed by them to be retained for that capital improvement of the $1.6 million. Then there was an additional traffic light installation that occurred at 7th and Hamilton Street, again, capital improvement, and City Center basically did it through their contractor with the city, and it was approved, all the right persons approved it, and that was an additional $48,000. So the first installment, which now will be 3 installments of $500,000, but the first installment was reduced, so it's $451,130, and then of course installment 2 and installment 3, when they come in subsequent years, will be fully $500,000. Now, as far as the parking authority is concerned, we requested from the parking authority a basic statement indicating what the utilization was for, and they expended $3,732,643 in the improvement of that spiral deck. So by our approving this resolution going forward, and at this particular time, we will be providing them with $1,400,000.
$451,000.
Well, what did I say?
$1,451,130.
I rounded down. That number over the period of 3 years to help them offset that debt service that they've incurred to do those public improvements.
It's not used the same term, we're helping them. I'm trying to figure out why.
Now, I know that we need the help, right? But, and I probably put it, somebody, I might have approved this expenditure before anyway, so maybe I'm just revisiting something I should have asked about before. But what's the, they're a independent authority, they have the ability to borrow money, raise cash, and, certainly the more people that come downtown, we think that the more cash they're generating. What was the negotiating over this? There,
Well, we start with the premise that first of all, they were improving public improvement that was in the NID. So the first criteria has to be within the NID. They were undergoing a series of things that they were doing, and I really don't speak for the parking authority. This is through my general knowledge. They also were involved in the construction of the 1,000-car parking deck across the street. Mm-hmm. They were getting stretched financially for purposes of completing the positions that the ninth and the old Hamilton, the old Hess deck required, and constructing the new deck. They needed this assistance in order to be able to make all the payments that are necessary over the course of time. On a short-term basis, yes. They incurred the debt on a short-term basis, with the understanding and thinking that they would get help from this $1.6 million.
And it really isn't, and in fact, I guess it really doesn't start as our money. This is city center.
This is it. And this was again something that city center felt was something that was going to be worthwhile and needed. We felt that it was going to be needed. It was part of all of this was a negotiation. Yeah, it had to be a capital project, and so this is a good capital project that we all could agree.
And these are basically NIZ revenue dollars that go to city center for purposes of their debt service and capital projects, and they're diverting this money to help on this part.
Okay, that helps me.
At any rate, thank you for correcting me with all that.
Well, I'm not sure I corrected you.
The detail, filling in the detail of that. So with that explanation, are there any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2015-82 for the payment of $1,451,130,000 future dollars to.
Well, you're only approving the 451. Next year we'll approve the 500. You can't approve.
Aren't we approving the?
Oh, I'm sorry, we are. We're approving all three. So we don't have to come back and do this again.
Each time. Okay. The approving the expenditure, the passing through of $1,451,130 to the parking authority from these dollars that we received from City Center Investment Corp. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dutchman. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Torres. Is there any question or comment from the public about this? Well, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Authority, parking authority, I'm sure. The next item of business is the approval of the meeting schedule. I think all of us were sent a request to find out if Wednesday evenings at 5 o'clock was satisfactory, and I think most everybody was agreed that this is an acceptable time, and so the dates are shown on this public notice, and there's a resolution R 2015-83, which sets forth the resolution that the dates should be publicly advertised as required by law. Are there any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve that resolution? Moved by Mr. Bocek. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Lovett. Are there any questions or comments about those dates? Hearing none, are there any from the public? Yes, sir.
Is the next meeting the first Wednesday in January?
January 6th.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? The dates for the resolutions, or rather for the meetings, are approved. The next order of business is the approval of the distribution of excess surplus funds. As you know, we've collected these revenues each year, and the excess of revenues over what is needed for the bond payments, the debt payments, are returned both to the, well, not both, but are returned to the state, city, and school district. Our compliance officer does the computations together with people in our office to determine what that surplus amount is and the allocation between the three of them are. And she has done that and has determined that the Pennsylvania State Department of Revenue will get $17,210,694.42. The city will get $502,200.33, and the school district will get $26,431.60. Upon your approval of the resolution to authorize me to sign the certificate to transfer that, I will sign a certificate that will instruct the escrow agent to transfer those monies to the various Pennsylvania state, city, and school district organizations.
Can we expect that much excess, 17 million?
We have it. We have the funds.
I guess my question is, do we expect to have that much? At the beginning of the year, do we expect at the end of the year to have 17 million?
I guess the answer would be we expect more.
We expected more, I think, but, you know, that's all that they certify.
Keep in mind,
That's what the state certifies.
let's revisit the process a little
Yeah.
bit, because, first of all, these are the funds for the year 2014, the calendar year 2014. That's your second full year of operation. You had a short year the year before, 2012. You didn't have a full year of the arena in 2014. You only had 3 months. Had a lot of construction going on, and those tax dollars that came off construction are meaningful. It's not just the rate. After everybody files their report in January, shortly after that, our compliance officer is basically invited to go to Harrisburg, meet in the Department of Revenue, where the department will certify to her what the taxpayers have paid on each particular qualified taxpayer, and we're running close to 700 plus qualified businesses at this point, so that's growing. She then prepares that report, which is an initial report, a preliminary report, where she determines what funds what has the Commonwealth certified, what funds go to the dedicated developer projects that you've approved. Those are the City Center project, the Woods project, the Shones or Charles Street project. Those are the projects, take the part of the project. She will determine what gets allocated, then what is left in that fund will go to the, it all goes to the trustee, it all goes to the escrow agent, And the escrow agent then is told to move the funds to the dedicated developer's account so that those debt services can be paid from the trust, from the escrow account. Monies are then moved into the arena bond obligation that the authority has, roughly a 15 million plus obligation. And the balance is then kept in the reserve fund. This is what you're dealing with today. This is the reserve fund. I think there's some small interest accrues over the 6 to 7 months that it's there.
So why does it sit in the fund?
Well, now that's something the Department of Revenue wants to talk to us about.
Okay.
In fact, you previously have approved an agreement, by resolution, an agreement whereby we will be shortening that timetable going forward. But this is not for
And we don't have to really, by law, we don't have to send this to them until January, but we're doing it in December.
But because we can.
We
We're
can.
ready. There's no real reason to hold it back. Sometimes doing the calculations, and incidentally, I want to correct Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
The compliance officer doesn't make this calculation or the allocation between the Commonwealth, the city, and the school district. That's done in-house by Maria.
Okay.
The ANIZDA.
I appreciate it.
Because that's a very intricate calculation as well, to determine who paid in what percentage of the whole, that kind of thing. So that's why you're doing this today. Yes, it didn't have to go in. We have to do it.
The compliance officer does determine how much is left over. The surplus.
Well, yes, after the allocation is completed.
After the allocation,
That's what
right,
we do.
okay. But Maria does this.
This
This
separation. right.
Okay.
So, that's the best we can say at the moment. If
Yeah, I think.
roughly speaking, you're paying to the Commonwealth, you're giving back roughly $1 million more than last year.
Now, why I say that I think we should be giving back more, we expected more, is that, we know that we're not getting 100% compliance in terms of keeping people reported, and we're doing the best we can to get people reported. So there is leakage of tax money that the state is keeping that isn't being credited to our benefit, to us.
The taxpayers are paying the money.
The taxpayers are paying the money, but we're not getting the credit.
Because they're not telling us.
They're not,
that
they're not,
inside
right,
the-
that they're in the news because they're not reporting. Okay. So there is leakage of that kind. And the elephant in the living room is that the state makes its determination how it certifies some of the large taxpayers, and it doesn't tell us how it certifies it, and on what basis, and whether it's certifying it in accordance with the rules that were set forth in the law.
Can we send a FOIA request?
No, we can't. They tell us what it is, and we cannot tell, and they will not disclose the mechanism by which they
We have no standing to challenge their certification.
So, we believe that it's substantially more, but it's suffice it to be that it's pretty close to what the projections were originally.
And what it
when
is,
we
is
issued the bonds.
in the bond issue, there are certain thresholds, and we're meeting all of those.
Yeah.
So there's no,
Yeah.
so,
We're meeting all of
we're
them.
comfortable, but, you know,
Do the individual taxpayers, businesses, find out whether they're certified, or
They-
they know either?
the Department of Revenue, in fact, it's interesting you asked about this, this happened today or yesterday. The Department of Revenue will send a letter to a taxpayer who has a deviation of 5% from what was reported versus what they certified. They don't send the letter to us, they send it directly to the taxpayer, and it's like an informational letter, we're just telling you this. I suppose there is a mechanism if the taxpayer was unhappy with that and curious, could contact the Department of Revenue. We really don't know if they do or they don't do. The taxpayer isn't highly motivated to do that because they paid these taxes in the course of business and they're moving on. They may not really care what the certification number is. A lot of rules to live by.
And, so at any rate, I think we're doing very well. I think the whole program is doing very well. And I think the state is not getting hurt by the program. Nobody's getting hurt by the program. They're doing what it should be doing. We're resurrecting and revitalizing a major city. And doing it in an extraordinary way. Speaking about that, did we get a vote? I'm sorry.
You don't even have a resolution.
We didn't have a resolution. Can I have a resolution? There is a resolution, R 2015-84, authorizing me to sign this certificate, to send back this money to the state, city, and school district. So, moved by Mr. Lovett. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Kuchar. Is there any comment from the public? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Speaking about the fact that, as I stated, I think the program is doing what it should, and then some. I've asked Ms. Hailstone to make a presentation that she has given about Upside Allentown. And I think that when I heard about this presentation, it seemed to me that what it demonstrates is not only what's been happening in the NIS, but some of the effect that the NIS is having on the greater Allentown area and the surrounding Allentown area. So I thought it would be helpful to our board to have that presentation.
Thank you. It's a lot of what I've been talking about, but the pretty pictures make it a little bit easier to understand, I think. Allentown is, and its neighborhoods, together they will grow. And actually, one of the guys in our planning department, Jesse, did this, and I thought it was very clever, where he took half of the PPL Center and the neighborhood and really blended them together. And I love the tagline. The new program. Here we go. So, we all know where the NIS is, but this is part of the Upside Allentown area, and I've talked about it a couple times where we talk about this is Hamilton Street, 7th, Tillman, Union, 12th, Jordan Creek. The residential, we're focused on the residential area around the NIS. And a big part of what we did here is we got all of the neighborhood groups to start talking to each other, because we have numerous neighborhood groups. We had, Old Fairground Jordan Heights working as one little neighborhood group. We had the 7th Street Main Street group working as another neighborhood. Old Allentown Historic District, the Allentown Promise neighborhood, and the Hamilton District Main Street program. They were all doing their little things. Everyone was working towards the same goal, but we weren't getting everyone to communicate with each other as much as we hoped they would. So basically, we tried to get them all to work together, each have their own concerns, aspirations, and goals, some similar, some related, some unique. And then, for each other. So basically what Upside Allentown has done for us is made all of those groups start talking to each other. We're all under the same umbrella now. working on a couple common goals. They are arts, education, physical enhancement, economic development and employment, public safety, housing, and communications. They're all different subcommittees of the Upside Allentown group. It's community driven. It came out of the plan that we had in the neighborhood. Some of you contributed to that plan. And the neighborhood people and the neighborhood leaders and the nonprofit groups and the local businesses and the faith-based organizations, the educators union, everyone is welcome to be part of it. Anyone who's willing to give their time and their energy is welcome to be part of it. Currently, we have about 85 to 90 people consistently meeting and working on agenda items for the neighborhood. This is the organization. Essentially, the Upside Allentown strategic plan is what everyone's working toward. We have a steering committee that consists of organizations and businesses. It is fed by the Neighborhood Partnership Program, which is led by Alan Jennings' organization, CACLV, with about $550,000 annually coming in through the Neighborhood Partnership Grant Program that comes to us from private businesses in the community. PPL, Wells Fargo, Susquehanna, National Penn are among some of those donors to that program. We have the City of Allentown and the Keystone Communities, which is primarily Shannon Calori's staff. Shannon's our planning director. She's taken over for Mike Heffley and will continue to lead us through this plan in the future. And then we have the Downtown Allentown Community Development Initiative, and that is primarily CEOs of some of the businesses in the downtown. And Don Bernhardt is the staff to that group. And we have staff meetings bi-weekly with the DACDI, the CACLV, and the city staff. Bi-weekly get together to talk about everything that's happening with all of our volunteers and all of our subcommittees. And the subcommittees, once again, include the housing, physical improvements and design, arts and culture, economic development and employment, public safety, marketing, community events, communications, and education. Some of the milestones that the group has already seen is that after 2 community-wide meetings, 1 open house, we surveyed high school students. There was a review of various strategies from the neighborhood partners that already existed. As I mentioned, we received approval for the NPP funding, and that's at least a 6-year program. We're expecting to receive approval for year 2. We haven't received it yet. We're comfortable that we will, because of the state budget, they haven't approved it. We have changed the name from the Center City Initiative to Upside Allentown. Our marketing committee did that. And we were designated by the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development a Keystone Community, which we've been working on for numerous years. And essentially what that does is it gives us priority. When any of our projects apply to the state now for funding or support, it gives us priority. So it was a big step. First year accomplishments, we have begun the rehabilitation of 34 properties in this neighborhood.
Is that residential?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We have inspected more than 3,000 units by the code enforcement group. We've restored 12 commercial facades and 11 residential facades this year. Kicked off a campaign to improve public safety. We've purchased over 100 new pedestrian scale streetlights, and we hope to get them put in soon. The design work is still being done, but through this program we've actually, and some of the money that funds this program is coming from foundations, it's coming from private. I know the lights were bought with our community development block grant funds. We've completed the development of Jackson Park, created a new design for Stevens Park, and developed a new pocket park in the 600 block of True Street. And we've installed 21 new high-definition security cameras in that neighborhood. We have also helped to add 2 additional police officer patrols for select hours over 24 weeks. And some of that was voted on by the volunteer committee members, that was something that they thought that there was value to. We created the pre-employment training program for residents seeking employment in the hospitality and restaurant. That was funded through this program. We've graduated 7 existing or prospective entrepreneurs in the neighborhood from the Community Action Development Corporation Start Your Business program. Launched a website, social media, communication strategy to promote and celebrate positive things happening in the downtown and the neighborhood. And began a planning process for strengthening the role of the arts in the city's revitalization. And so basically our plan for arts was to get a plan for arts. And so that's what's happening right now. We've brought a very good group on, and they're putting together a strategy related specifically to the arts. Outcome. We have 11 outcomes that we hope to achieve, and we basically are looking at monitoring the property values, the employment, crime, home ownership, housing conditions, and quality of life. I know that was quick, there's an awful lot happening there, but I thought it was a good way to show you some of what's happening. And this is a great, when people come to visit the board and say, can you contribute? If you are able to contribute, this is a great way to contribute, because it is a true community strategy, it's a true community plan, but it's also the development that's happening in the downtown is causing a lot of the activity, the interest, and a lot of the dollars, because a lot of those dollars that are going into the Upside Down Town Plan are coming directly from the private businesses that are moving into the downtown, are coming directly from the volunteers that are in the businesses, that are in the downtown, that are saying, hey, I want to help with the neighborhood as well. So the NIS development absolutely has had a great impact on the activity and the interest in the neighborhood.
But I think one of the things that I wanted Sarah to present this for is that no doubt a lot of this would have happened, or some of it would have happened, let's say, without the NIS and without what we're done here as a result of the ANIZDA's efforts. But I think that a substantial amount of it that's been the outgrowth into the neighborhoods and the potential for future development, I think, has occurred because of the NIS. It's just that the NIS has created the stimulus, I think, to rally around, get people rallied around the idea of redeveloping the entire downtown, not just the downtown. So
I think this is a good slide to show it. I think a lot of what the NIS has done for us is brought the community together. So these groups, as I said, we're working slowly but surely in this neighborhood, and all the activity in the downtown has gotten people excited. It's added more volunteers, it's added more dollars, it's added more interest, and it's allowed a lot more outcomes to happen more quickly.
Sarah, the home ownership was one of the outcomes. So do the community groups want more home ownership rather than renting? Okay.
It is. And so we'll take it off the census data. The quality of life is the most difficult one to figure out that we're improving, but the home ownership, we'll just take the basic census data and check into it each year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they do want more home ownership. I'm a little surprised by that.
Well, that's why would you be surprised?
Because I love being a renter. I was a homeowner. That's why.
Yeah, well, and maybe that's the millennial thing too, but I don't know. But, everybody in the city and, has been talking about, what contributes to issues of the quality of the housing stock. Number two, the implications of the school district. When you can rent for a month and, you move 4 blocks and now you're taking your kid to a different school. And so, along those lines, that's probably an extremely difficult topic to gauge, you know, what metrics to use, but, you know, there's the educational achievement component. You know, if this works, shouldn't you see higher graduation rates, less delinquencies, that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Is there some way to measure that? Because if I'm, you know, if I'm looking at this from the outside, and I'm thinking about where am I gonna move, if this is on my radar screen, particularly if I'm in a certain age demographic, I wanna have a sense that, you know, this neighborhood is part of a turnaround that either promoting or at least going along with the turnaround in the school system.
So quite honestly, a big part of the reason education, we believe, is one of the most important issues here, and should almost have a plan just as big for itself. The items that you see here primarily are the items that grew out of my own department, quite honestly. We started this with the Keystone Communities application, and then tried to get everybody to, you know, we kept saying, hey, here's the plan, if you want to change it, go right ahead, but we really need everybody working off the same plan, please. And so as we continued to grow the plan and share it with other organizations, they said, you know, actually, it doesn't, we're okay with it, we're not going to change too much. But we kept saying, I don't run education in the city, we can't
No,
run
I'm not saying
education.
we should, all I'm saying is with less live outcomes, I think one of the outcomes could be that you improve the.
I agree.
Educational component, not that you're trying to, having to do with it, but it is an outcome of everything else turning around, at least potentially.
Well, I actually thought, so anyhow, so we do have a wonderful education committee, and they've thrown the majority of their time, money, and energy towards Building 21 and the pre-K quality education. So that's been kind of the focus of the education committee. But I agree with you, because rather than home ownership as an outcome, I thought we might start looking at stability of stay. You know, so if you want to rent for 5 years, go right ahead and rent for 5 years.
Yeah, I think that's the issue of stability.
And that was the one that I thought we'd see, but there was home ownership. Home ownership came out, but I think we'll judge all of those things.
Any other questions or comments?
What's gonna happen when you leave, Sarah?
Shannon Kalari will be managing it.
The Upside Down Town.
Upside Down Town. Shannon's the planning director, and Mike Heffley really did most of the heavy lifting on our plan on the day-to-day, and is, you know, Mike retired after 30 years with the city, but we have a wonderful new planning director, Shannon, and she'll be carrying.
Well, that's one tremendously difficult job, because you got an awful lot of cats running around in there. I mean, the only criticism I've heard about this whole effort is that there's so many people that are doing stuff, that it's awful hard to really keep controls of it. Any real coordination, because there's so many things going on.
Which is a good thing, and that's why we're hoping, and that's why we invite everybody to be part of this group. So that if there's a Rotary that says, you know what, we want to do a project, you know, fit into one of these subcommittees and work it out of the committee so that it is coordinated and it is communicated out and people know what's going on. And then you'll see the marketing committee will have more communication going out.
Any other questions, comments for Sarah, other than that we'll miss her?
Actually, I have one myself. Excuse me, my voice is bad.
Scott, you have a question here?
Just me. This Upside Allentown. Is there any social media presence on Facebook? So if I look for Upside Allentown on Facebook, I can find it?
Yes, we have a Facebook page, don't we?
I'm pretty sure we do, I apologize.
Okay, I will look for it when I get a
There's
chance.
definitely a website.
There's a website, and I know I get emails, but. There's definitely a website.
Okay.
And I'm sure they're trying to get to a Facebook page, we're not there yet.
Any other questions? Thank you. Is there any other further report from you as executive director? Okay. Old business, new business?
motion to adjourn the meeting?